most people say, what, you're an introvert? And I'm like, yeah, it wears me out to talk to people and be in a group. And I waited tables in college, and that's what broke me out of it. And so I've always got a soft spot in an interview when someone tells me, oh, as a bartender, I waited tables. I'm like, oh, I know you know how to talk to people, so, but to answer your question, is it a problem? I mean, I think it's a problem. It's not the problem. So, what to do about it? What do I look for? Or what's the most important? Sorry, that was the question. What's the most important skill? I think, just to use a buzzword, it's overused, but EQ. But what I mean by that is understanding perception. So I think the biggest problem with a lot of entry-level technical people is I say it's one thing to do a great job, and it's another completely different thing to make sure the customer perceives it as a great job. So, or the end user, whoever you're working with. So I think putting yourself in other people's shoes and being able to think about how are they going to receive this is probably, I would say, the skill that I look for the most.
And that's when we build our teams, we need to put diversity on our teams, and not just different colors and genders and stuff, but really the diversity of thought, because the people that we service, and again, cybersecurity is a support industry. Without the business, we don't exist. So we support the business. So the business is made up of all different types of folks. There's men and women, all different kinds of colors, all different physical abilities and sexual identities. Like, those are the things that we need to hire for also, because you can speak better and you can empathize better with your business folks, because you now have diverse set of teammates, no matter what they look like, but they can now communicate with the business folks, which again, we are a support, we are a service for the business. So if we can build relationships with our business folks, and they all have different ways about them, all different ways to be convinced and being influenced, right? We need to stack our teams with those types of people. What I see right now is our cybersecurity folks really only hire the same types of folks like them. So like attracts like. I get it. It's like one of the laws of physics or whatever. But like, if you are just hiring people that look just like you or act just like you, or more importantly, think just like you're never going to be able to communicate, one, to the people that we're supposed to support. And also, you're just going to have that very single-minded view of problems, and you're never really going to think outside the box. My opera singer intern has already taught me so much about how people outside of security perceive different problems. So I appreciate her point of view, just because I've never had that point of view. If that makes sense.
I think one of the biggest problems that we have too, Naomi, you mentioned that we're a support function of the business, and I think that oftentimes security professionals miss that. So often it's the business is an adversary in the eyes of security, and security is an adversary in the eyes of the business. And I think that comes from a place of being unable to empathize with the business, look at the bigger picture, unable to understand a different viewpoint. And so I think that's the resounding theme here from Jesse and what Naomi said, is that security is going to be most effective when we have a reduced level of internal friction between internal security teams and the business. And the only way to reduce that friction is that make sure that we are hiring people and developing soft skills that allow our technicians, our engineers, our staff to be able to empathize with another person's objectives, goals, and missions.
So so I agree with everything that everybody said, except for that I don't really consider myself to necessarily be a fully support function. I mean, I've helped drive 1900% increase in revenue because of my security program, because that's what a security program does for a software as a service company. So I think, in general, security professionals are like technology professionals, like Jesse pointed out, right? We're very introverted, and we lack empathy at times. Empathy is the thing that I work on all the time, right? I want to make sure that when somebody comes to me, I consider that what they're asking me is not necessarily an inconvenience to me, but I need to put myself in their shoes. So I think learning the business was the biggest thing I learned when I left the military, right? I knew how to talk to people that flew airplanes. I knew how to talk to people that drove ships, but I had no idea how to talk to people that were in marketing, people that had to worry about product requirement documents and taking product to market. And I've since done that, right? And I have a bachelor's degree in business. So I learned that after the fact. So I do agree. Diversity in thought is actually right. I mean, when I look at hiring, I don't care necessarily if they've been with a SaaS company. I don't care necessarily if they have cloud security experience. I want to know, do they have a different perspective that's going to help me solve a different problem, not just because of the internal business, but because of my thousands of global customers that are going to have a different perspective than we do.
Yeah, that's makes tons of sense. Um, I would love to get through a couple more questions in the time that we have. Allison Isaacson asked, how how did the people that you hired with zero IT or security backgrounds get through the application process with a resume that didn't necessarily contain keywords or an IT background and so on?
Can I take that one? Network.
Sure.
So listen, the amazing young lady who manages my security operations center was one of my former students. And when my security guy left, she was one of the two people I remembered from school. And I went to her and said, "Hey, are you willing to do this job? You know, you've been doing audit." And she said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And she came in as an analyst. And then when our principal departed, she said, "I want to manage the SOC. This is what I want to be able to do." So I gave her that opportunity. Obviously, myself and my deputy work on her confidence, but she has taken an MSSP managed security operations center capability and built the almost fully functional one within 3 months, right? Which is completely amazing. The guy who's the tier 2 SOC analyst, he had networking experience, but no real practical security experience, did his internship unpaid and does amazing work. He just showed how he wants to expand the log collection capability and built out really engineering principal level stuff at a mid-level position. So it's bringing them in, it's encouraging them, it's challenging them, it's giving them projects that will take them out of their comfort zone and encouraging them along the way and reminding them, come to me if you're confused, because I don't want you spinning cycles unnecessarily. Those are a few thoughts I have.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that one? Otherwise, there's plenty of others.
Yeah, I do have one quick thought.
Okay.
And I think, just get creative, and if you gotta, I'm just gonna say it. If you gotta fudge it a little bit to get in the door and talk to somebody, do it. That's what I did to get my entry level job. So,
Love that.
I don't want to encourage people to be unethical. That's not what I'm saying here. But get creative about writing your resume and really think about it. If they're asking for this skill, if you can come into an interview and say, hey, I haven't done this, but here's what I did that I think relates to that, and you show me how you can tie that together, I'm gonna kind of really like you at that point. And so I think that's part of it. Is just getting in there and taking your swing. Embrace your imposter syndrome. I have imposter syndrome. Sitting in this panel with these 4 great CISOs, I'm thinking here, I'm probably the worst CISO here, right? But and that's not true, but it's like you have that feeling, and everybody has that feeling. I have that. So embrace that and use that as fire to really take your swing and hit it out of the park.